Welcome to another episode of Talking Nerdy in the Bedroom with
Corey,
KJ, and no Mike. It's just Corey and KJ. It's the first time no Mike. I don't think this has really much to do with his availability, though. More to do with he's never watched the show that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So we're filming a little bit out of order to get this one ready, because we're not going to be recording on Thanksgiving, but this will release the Monday after Thanksgiving, and it's all going to be about Cobra Kai, the TV show that was
started on YouTube.
YouTube Red.
Yeah, YouTube Red, yeah.
For the first 2 seasons, and then Netflix was like, hey, you kind of got some traction there, we'd like to buy it.
Yeah.
And then they did.
I also feel like the YouTube Red went the way of the dinosaur, I feel like.
Yeah, so. But it wasn't until after like that. Yeah. They were still there. But then YouTube realized it probably wasn't worthwhile to kind of keep their own content there. That's not what they're known for. They're mostly known for people uploading their own content. Why are they spending their own money to produce stuff?
Right.
Which I think is the better business model. But it did give us a show. This was the only network that gave this show a chance. And if they didn't, we wouldn't have the show that we have now on Netflix.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, that's kind of an important part. But this is one of those movie, I don't even call it a spin-off, but like continuation from a movie. And there are a few examples of those that are fantastic. Ash versus Evil Dead is one that we recently talked about for the Halloween episode, which was a spin-off of multiple movies into the TV show and lived up to the legacy. And watching this show, I felt like it completely lived up to the Karate Kid legacy that they had kind of put out with the first few movies.
Yeah. It's funny because when I'm watching the show, sometimes I'm like, man, that's over the top and ridiculous. That's not like... And then I think back on the original movie, I was like, oh yeah, that kid was going to kill him in Japan. And and they were beating the crap out of him like to a pulp when Mr. Miyagi stepped in. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's not that crazy. But...
No, it definitely has some campy, over-the-top moments. But that kind of coincides with the movies.
It's got some like Power Ranger almost kind of moments where like the kids are, form of pterodactyl on these.
Yeah, they just go into... I will say some of the most fun scenes are kind of the brawls in general. But it's not because they're well acted, so to speak, but it's more because they're just kind of fun to watch to see what choreography they're going to do during the fight scene.
Yeah.
Like, especially with, what is their name? Robbie and Miguel? Like, their fight scenes together, especially in this latest season, which we'll get to in a second, where they kind of squash their beef. Like, that fight right in front of the main character that was leading Cobra Kai.
Johnny Lawrence.
Yeah, Johnny. So they're fighting right in front of him, right in front of their apartments, is just a great fight between the two of them.
Yeah.
Like, really well done, which I think this show so far has a tendency to show us, or the ability, I should say, to tell a story within the fights themselves. And that's not an easy thing to do.
To back up a little bit about how the show came about, I'm not saying it came about because of this, but the How I Met Your Mother scenes.
Oh, it has nothing to do with that at all.
I disagree.
Nothing
I think that brought new attention to this
How I Met Your
character.
Mother ended years before.
I understand, but I think it got the... But if you've heard any of Ralph Macchio talking about this series, it's something that they really started talking about in the last decade, and it took a long time to get launched because they couldn't find anyone who would buy it. Like you were saying, YouTube
nobody
Red
wanted to buy it.
But I really think what might have gotten the conversation going, because it's basically the same premise as in How I Met Your Mother. Barney believes that Johnny Lawrence was the Karate Kid, and Ralph Macchio was the bad guy.
To be fair, that's probably exactly, if you're in those characters' headspace of the movie, that's exactly how they're feeling too.
Yeah.
So I just love that a TV show could continue this many years after and still get you hooked and make you feel like it's the movie and that you're following these characters and getting the other side's perspective of what happened. Because Johnny Lawrence had a girlfriend, was leading his dojo, or I should say the main student of his dojo, was having the time of his life until this new kid comes to town, and literally everything is correct. Whether he was an asshole or not, literally his whole life is just looking good until this one kid comes to town.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it's an interesting
at least
premise.
from the original movie perspective, I think through the shows you learn that like he had a stepfather who was
Oh, sure, yeah, yeah.
awful, and
But in the very beginning, so it's so funny because this show I didn't watch on YouTube Red. I heard about it. I heard it was really good. But then when Netflix picked it up, that's when I started watching it. And I'm sure you remember this, but you told me, hey, you should watch the show. I was like, yeah, it's on my list. I'll watch it. You're like, whenever you watch the first episode, after about 5 minutes, make sure you text me.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, well, that's random, but okay, I guess. And in the first 5 minutes, there's a scene which correlates with my life for one of the jobs I had where Johnny Lawrence is getting yelled at as a handyman for putting the TV on the wrong wall, and then gets tells the lady not to bitch at him. And
is that what he says?
Yeah.
I thought he
said, just don't bitch at me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought he said the exact quote, which was bitchy or something.
No, but pretty close,
Yeah,
which we'll get to in just a second. But yeah, he says, don't bitch at me.
That's right.
Then he's on the phone with his boss, and he's like, I didn't call her a bitch.
Yeah.
I said, don't bitch at me. And then the boss fires him, and he's like, you're going to fire me over that bitch? Which is just hilarious by itself.
Yeah.
Let alone if you add in the context of my life, where I got an email from a supervisor, which I didn't like. I didn't like the tone, so I was replying back in an email, very professional, but then my phone rang, which it was her, which she had a tendency to do, to always call right after sending an email. Hate that. But, so I pick up the phone, and she's like, did you get my email? I was like, yeah, I didn't really like your email. It came off as bitchy. And then she asked, what did you just say? I said, I didn't like your email. It came off as bitchy. Then she put me on speakerphone where somebody else could hear and was just like, what did you say? And I went, I didn't like your email. And then she's like, I think you said it was bitchy. I said, yeah. And she's like, okay, we'll call you back. And then I went and talked to my boss and explained to him that I might have called my other boss bitchy. And he said, hey, you can't do that.
Yeah. No.
Again, I stand by, I did not call her a bitch. I did not call her bitchy. If anything, it was constructive feedback. Your email came off as bitchy, which was word for word what I said.
Very constructive.
Very constructive, maybe not have your emails come out as bitchy.
Yeah. Well, anyway, when I heard that line, I was like, even if he hates the show, he has to watch this episode just for that reason. I figured you would like it, though. There's a certain amount of nostalgia that you can't deny that is probably
Were you a
driving the
giant
success.
Karate Kid fan?
Oh, I loved Karate Kid.
See, I wasn't a giant Karate Kid fan. I liked it, but I wasn't dressing up as them for Halloween. I wasn't going nuts and like, hey, we got to go see this movie, or I need to watch it 1,000 times on VHS or something. But I enjoyed Karate Kid.
It's just like, let's put it this way. If you said wax on, wax off.
Sure.
Almost anyone our age is going to know what you're talking about.
Sure, that it basically spread throughout all culture to know what that meant.
And I like, for me, I just like, I don't know how to say it other than whitewashed Asian shit. Like, I like Forbidden Kingdom is like one of my guilty pleasure movies, which is just a stupid movie. But it's got like Jet Li and Jackie Chan. It's about this white kid from New York gets sucked into this magical land of like basically Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but there's I don't know, it's a
well, you like it because it's what you can try to see yourself
to the character.
Well,
in the show,
I mean, you're not going to be doing some of the stuff that they're doing, but yes, you can relate.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, and I know we're talking about Cobra Kai, but you don't like whitewashing, or I should say blackwashing, which sounds really bad, of like comic book characters going to a different ethnicity or something like that, but you have no problem with a whitewashing character completely changing the story.
So it's different because I don't have a problem where it's like, do you ever see Kid in King Arthur's Court?
Yeah.
He's at a place at a time, but it's just, that's the story. It's the kid gets sucked into this other world. Karate Kid, it's supposed to be about a kid who wasn't raised in Japan. It's supposed to be about a New York kid moves to a new area.
Well, that's not whitewashing then.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not
but
really.
Your other thing that you said you liked is whitewashing.
Nah, it's not really even, because again, that's supposed to be some kid in New York gets sucked into this kind of magical forbidden kingdom.
But was there an original story?
That's what I mean. That's the original script.
So, yeah, that's not whitewashing.
I don't know how to
then.
call it then.
Yeah.
It's just like a
fish out of water.
Yeah,
white
fish
person.
out of water experience. But
okay, so completely different than whitewashing.
Yeah. My bigger problem with what you were talking about is I don't like when I've grown. I've got an established character. Like if Captain America, if they said all of a sudden
He is black now. Go ahead, say it. He is black now.
But they didn't change. That's fine because it's a
you
sequel.
have there's an explanation for
right.
it. It's not just changed.
Steve Rogers
Right.
is all of a sudden going to be a black guy or a woman or something. Now, again, I don't have a problem with
Peggy Carter,
what do
who
they call her?
becomes
Captain Britain, right?
Well, I think that's what we called her.
I'm
I
sure
don't
that's
think.
what she's called.
I thought we called her Captain Britain, and then we looked it up, and it wasn't Captain Britain.
I'm pretty sure it's Captain Britain, but regardless, I don't have a problem with her either because it's an alternate universe kind of approach. I hated that last Fantastic Four movie, and I'm obviously not in the minority on that.
No, it was a bad movie. To be fair, most of the actors in that movie hated that movie.
Yeah, but I mean, they just changed so much about the characters that I liked. So, like, they weren't even brother and sister. They were just like, we're going to get rid of that.
That's the part that you liked in the story?
No, but it's that I have this established character that I have this history of reading and watching and stuff, and now you're going to change everything.
Would it have
them.
mattered to you if it was good? Because you look at like a movie like Shawshank, where Red's character is a white Irish guy with red hair, and they changed it to Morgan Freeman.
I don't have a problem with that, but at the same time, I had no connection to that story beforehand. That's kind of my point.
Only when you have the
It's
connection.
if you have a history of
That's a very
watching
biased look at it, though.
Well, look, Nick Fury, for instance.
Got changed.
I know, but I have no problem with that because he was kind of changed around the time that I started becoming aware of Nick Fury. So it doesn't affect me as much.
But you completely understand or admit that it's just your own bias, so to speak. That
it's just
how
this is
you
not the
adapt the story
that I want. It's like when I see the Harry Potter movies, I still like them, but I wish they would have more aspects from the book than they do.
Because you read the book first.
Right. Like, I want to see the stories. I
will say something good about Cobra Kai is that all the characters felt exactly the same as the movie, but you get more depth to them than you had before.
Yeah.
Like with his girlfriend in the second movie, with himself, meeting Ralph Macchio, and then even Johnny Lawrence. You get to know more about him. You get to know more about the senseis with Kreese and the other one. So you get so much more of this background for them, but it still felt true to the characters. And this show, I thought that was really good at giving you that depth without losing anything about the character from the original. Like, because there's sometimes you'll get depth of a character, and it kind of takes away, as you said, for what you thought the character should be or what the story was. And this, I don't think has. At least I can't think of any examples of anything in this show that seemed to go against what was in the movies.
Yeah, I don't think so either. The Ralph Macchio, Daniel's son, like, he goes from being like the good guy at times to, like, I don't know, going astray, I guess is probably the best way to put it. And then
so does Johnny, though.
Yeah, but Johnny is that character.
Okay.
Yeah. But so, then I look back at the original movies.
The second movie especially, because he went bad in the second movie for a while.
Daniel's
son,
that's my point. So, like, there's so many times where I look at the characters and I'm like, well, does that fit? And then I look back at the movie, I'm like, yeah, they do a pretty good job. That does fit.
Yeah, I'm very, like... So we were recently talking about, I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but like The Witcher, Henry Cavill was being replaced.
Yeah.
Part of it's because him not liking the story and wanted them to be true to the characters.
Yeah.
I have to imagine the people that are doing Cobra Kai have to be huge fans of Karate Kid in general.
Well,
because
I think Ralph Macchio is like an executive producer.
Oh, well, I meant he's a huge fan, but I just meant in general. Just because there's multiple executive producers, then there's obviously the heads up at Netflix that can say, no, we want you to do this, that, or the other, because they're the ones footing the bill. But it seems like everything has come together to give this cohesive story that still fits what the movie was. And it's one of the better examples, especially for the fanfare that it's getting too. It's one of the better examples that I can think of.
I think it's probably because it's very original. It's driven by the original cast. Ralph Macchio and, I'm blanking on his name. Johnny Lawrence's.
William Zabka?
Yeah, Zabka. Billy
But
Zabka.
we also had Elizabeth Shue, who showed up for this.
Right. But what I mean is, I feel like
4.
Billy Zabka and Ralph Macchio are very involved in the direction the story takes.
Oh, yeah.
And then to some extent, I wonder if, like, characters like Chosen and stuff, if they... approached that guy and said, like, where would you have liked to see that character go? Or, it just seems like the the stories feel more natural because they're probably getting feedback from the actors opposed to studios going, oh, this is what we want to do.
Well, what's it been? When were those movies out in the 80s, right? 80s, 90s?
Yeah, probably late 80s, early 90s.
Right. So with that, you have to know that some of these, or most of the characters that are in these movies from back then, did nothing else. Like, they really didn't. They're just known for the Karate Kid.
The actors.
Yes,
you said
the actors.
Characters.
Sorry, my bad.
I mean, he opened a car dealership. That's pretty good.
He's doing well for himself.
Yeah.
But no, the actors themselves didn't really do much. So when they're still interviewed randomly,
some of them, but not the big ones. Yeah.
Which
Elizabeth
one of the
Shue did not
went on to do some great things? Yeah, but I mean, she was a main character, but wasn't a main character.
I feel like Ralph Macchio went on to do things immediately after, and then nothing. I think he
was like a leading man of that, and then just dropped.
Yeah.
But you got to imagine that they're going to get questioned. So they probably had 30 years to kind of think about, well, what would my character be doing? You know, that question has been asked by fans, by like if they go to a Comic-Con or things like that. Well, where do you think your character would be today? Or why do you think your character was motivated by this? And then you have all these answers that might not have been in the script that you have to pull from for 30 years. So I have to assume that you're right. Look, I even said it. That not that you're not wrong, but that you're right. That they went to these people and actually asked them, like, where do you think your character would go? And what do you think his motivations were? And how can we script this? Or maybe they're just willing, maybe when they write down the script, they're just willing to listen to the actors that go, I don't know if that really fits my character. You know, which is better than having someone just going to read what's on the page. At a certain point, you need to ask the question and just be given an answer.
Well, I think it also helps them that to some extent, it's kind of like a Maverick kind of show running, in the sense that like it's a show that was proposed to YouTube Red. There wasn't
it was proposed to lots of places.
Sure, but YouTube Red took it over. They didn't have the oversight that like a network show would have, and they've probably been given a lot of free reign. And because it's been so successful, it probably hasn't changed. Netflix is probably like, you know what, keep doing it because you're making us, we're getting good viewership on all this.
So even though Rotten Tomatoes, and before we get into the specific seasons, Rotten Tomatoes isn't like the be-all, end-all, but first season 100, second season 90, third 90, fourth 95, fifth 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how good the show is.
Critics or is that audience?
That is critics.
Oh, okay. I would have expected critics to be lower and audience to be higher if I was...
No, that is just all critics, and people love this show.
Because like you were saying, there are scenes that are like, even a little much for me, but I still, whatever, I enjoy it. Like, this, I think it's season 1 where they have the fight in the school.
No, that's not season 1. You're talking about when What's-His-Face falls and like almost breaks his back.
Yeah, is that season 2?
I think that's the end of season 2, or potentially even the end of season 3.
Oh, wow.
We're on season 5 right now.
I know, but I still didn't think it was that long.
Yeah, and especially for the production value of that fight, makes me feel like it was more Netflix than YouTube Red.
It just seemed crazy. Like, even looking back at the original stories and whatnot, it seemed crazy to me that would happen in a school and that the teachers are just like, we can't do anything. Like,
well, in today's world, they probably can't. Like, it was probably more believable in the 80s that the teachers get involved, throw kids around, do whatever. Now, if you're caught on tape doing anything like that, even breaking up a fight, you're probably getting sued.
It's nuts to me, too, because this All Valley Tournament Commission is like, sees all this stuff happen, and like, if one more thing happens, you'll be disqualified. It's like, no, dude, they should be in jail.
Right, yeah.
Like, forget
it's
them.
assault.
Yeah, oh no, I'm going to have to miss the All Valley tournament? No, I'm going to be in freaking juvie getting pounded. Like, that's what it should be.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to work it out, Either get pounded in a tournament or get pounded at juvie. You know, whatever works for you. This show has definitely, award-wise, even since it first came out, has been nominated for a lot, but none that are, like, super official. Like, you get the People's Choice Awards, you get the MTV Awards, but they have been nominated for the Primetime Creative Arts and Primetime Emmy Awards.
It's just not serious enough of a show.
It got nominated at the Emmys.
I know, but what I mean is, like, it's not, like, you got Breaking Bad, won Best Actor
Well,
forever.
Years ago.
I understand,
yes.
but that's my point. It's not that kind of show.
No.
It's not the kind of show that like my parents would watch and take seriously.
Well, yeah, but it can be considered outstanding comedy. That's
yeah,
what
but it's really not a comedy.
That's what they classify it as.
It's classified as a comedy?
Outstanding comedy series.
Oh, it was put up for that award.
Yes.
I thought you meant the show is considered a comedy.
No, that's the award it got put up for.
That's weird because it's really not a funny show.
I mean, it has tons of moments of humor. I'm always laughing at Johnny Lawrence. Always. In season 5 where he gets on Uber and he's trying to drive people around and doing DoorDash, I didn't stop laughing at that entire
that was
scene.
Great.
Yeah. And he's also, again, the bitchy scene, also hilarious at the beginning. So there's definitely more comedy than there is. And I would definitely classify this as a comedy, but with some drama elements.
Yeah.
But mostly a comedy. I look at Scrubs. Scrubs is a comedy show.
Yeah, but
Scrubs it has
is funnier.
Of course it was. Scrubs was hilarious. But it's got drama moments, but it's more of a comedy. I would say this is more of a comedy.
See, I think this is more of like I don't know. Drama is a little hard.
Yeah, I was going to say, come up with a different thing and I'll listen to you.
It's not constantly funny. It's literally mostly Johnny that's funny. I don't see many funny scenes from any other characters in that show. Or except for the tall, gangly kid, he can be funny at times.
He can be. Yeah. Well, so could Hawk at times in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then towards the end after he transitions. Yeah. I will say that's something about this show, too, that they've had a lot of character arcs throughout.
Yeah.
So you had it with Johnny Lawrence's son. You had it with Miguel. You had it with... now, the person that's dating Johnny's son, Tori. I kept looking at the name and thought it said Troy. That's why I wasn't saying it, because I was like, well, clearly it's not Troy. That's a guy's name. Yeah, Tori.
And there is a Troy, I think. I think that's the Asian guy.
It's very possible. Yeah. But Tori, her character arc that took the entire 5 seasons to basically get through, although I think she joined in season 2.
Yeah, she wasn't right away.
Right, so she's had like 4 seasons of arc where she's this bitter teen because life hasn't gone her way because of everything going on with her mom who's got cancer and all this other stuff to finally, like, quote unquote, be on the good side towards the end of it.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, to me, is that no matter which way that you look at this, depending on the side, it's similar to the first movies, because in the original movies, you're not really looking at what perspective. You're just looking through it as Daniel LaRusso's side, because that's what you're seeing.
Unless you're Barney.
Right,
Stinson,
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not wrong with the name of the movie. It's called The Karate Kid, not the kid that just picked up karate one day and decided to win a tournament with an illegal kick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we progress through this show, was there anybody that you were excited to potentially see come back? Because people like... obviously, Tori wasn't an original character, but...
Oh, you mean come back to...
Like Terry
the show
Silver.
From the original cast?
Yeah.
I mean, other than Johnny Lawrence, because, like, I was excited to see
he's episode 1, but I meant, like, throughout the series.
Since then, I was kind of excited to see Chosen come back. I thought they did his character pretty well. Kreese, because he wasn't there in the beginning, was kind of
he was like guest starring in the first season.
Well, I think he was at the very end of the first season. You see him.
You see him for a second.
I think that's when you first see him. But so I was excited for him to come back, I guess. The Asian actress who Daniel
dates in the second movie or third movie, whatever movie it was.
Yeah, because she's actually been in a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was excited to see they got her to come back, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah,
and obviously Elizabeth Shue, getting her was, I thought, kind of cool to have a little bit of closure for both of those characters with this girl that they loved during high school. But then, so Terry Silver comes in the 4th season, and then obviously through the 5th season. And then, spoilers, just gets arrested at the end of the 5th season.
I did like the guy they bring back that I think was in Karate Kid. I always get him confused.
You're talking about the guy with the furniture store?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He was good.
That was a good scene with them, with Daniel LaRusso sneaking in.
Yeah.
And then thinking he's gonna have to fight, and then only to be like, "Oh, yeah, you're
and then that
not
guy
doing
like
any of
gets
this."
hopped up on drugs and kidnaps him in the limo or
Yep.
whatever. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, these are like just see again. Those are funny moments. See, that's why it's probably a comedy.
Yeah, it's really funny when somebody gets hopped up on drugs and
That's
kidnaps.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Especially when there's a camera rolling.
Yeah.
What else do you want, Corey?
Yeah.
Is there anybody else that you're potentially hoping that they bring in?
I honestly can't even think of anyone else.
You feel like they've kind of brought
I feel
everybody.
like they've captured. I mean, Mr. Miyagi, but that
Yeah.
would be,
He's
dead.
I have to imagine they would have brought him in some capacity,
Yeah.
even if it's just a quick cameo or something. Even if they went to when he went to Japan,
I assume they might have even said he died.
they did.
No, not Mr. Miyagi.
Oh.
The guy that was Chosen's uncle, Sato, I think is his name.
Yeah, I think so.
I
Well,
think-
also Chosen's like 90, so I would assume.
I know. I was gonna
most
say
of his relatives
I'm
are
pretty
dead.
Sure, Sato's got to be dead too. So, yeah, that's what I mean. I really can't think of anyone else. They even brought back the redheaded girl that he was like
The dating?
right, and
Yeah.
and she's
She's
the
the-
sister of his wife.
No, not was it sister?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I believe so.
I thought
yeah.
it was cousin.
Whatever it is.
They're
she
yeah, they're
introduced
related.
him. Yeah.
Which I didn't. I guess I didn't even pick up on that. Maybe I don't know if they have the same last name. Granted, you'd have to hear her maiden last
I
name
was
to
gonna
know
say,
for
yeah, I
sure.
don't think we ever did.
But I like that they added that little connection in, and then she was able to give her some background on Kreese in general because she dealt with him years ago when they were
But
kids.
I mean, geez, they even brought back the other Cobra Kai students that Johnny Lawrence.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
his buddies. Yeah,
Yeah, and that one that I honestly, if you had given me a picture of them then and a picture of the ones after, there was the one who was actually dying of cancer,
yep,
and they wrote that into the story.
yep.
Would not have been able to like connect the dots.
Such a
with
good
them.
scene, that scene too, especially because if you watch the original Karate Kid movie, you don't care about these characters or
No.
you're mad at them. They're the antagonists. And then to have this scene where they come back together with Johnny, it's really good to see everybody again. One of them's dying of cancer. Let's go do something. It's a really good scene.
Literally the only character I could think of that they haven't brought back that I can picture in my mind is
Jackie Chan.
no, he's not in it.
I mean, he's in the new Karate
screw
Kid.
That. That's not Karate Kid.
Do we know if those are because he didn't?
That's why I was
Did
gonna
Jackie
say,
Chan play Mr. Miyagi, or did he play just a version of?
Well, there's basically he played Mr. Miyagi.
Oh,
yeah.
he did.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Never mind then.
But there's two different characters they could still bring back. One's noteworthy is Hilary Swank.
Oh, from what was it? The next
The
Karate
next
Kid.
Karate
Yeah.
Kid. Still was Mr. Miyagi teaching her. I don't know how they'd connect the dots because her dad was not Daniel, obviously, because now we
She would just come to town, I guess, if they
Yeah,
all took
yeah.
place in the same place in California.
or like maybe
Miyagi
he knows
mentioned it to her.
He knows her or something.
Yeah.
Like they met when Mr. Miyagi was alive.
Sure.
And so he calls her for help. But I don't know. It'd be a hard sell to get Hilary Swank. Although, what the heck else?
I was
going
gonna
to
say, what is she
now?
doing right now?
The only other character that I can even picture that they don't have is not noteworthy. But he was. I remember he was in Walker, Texas Ranger, and he played. No, Cordell was Walker, right? He was the black guy in Walker, Texas Ranger.
Okay,
that was, his partner or whatever. He's in that. The one where they're in Japan and he's the one breaking the ice at first, and then Daniel's like, "Oh, I can break the ice." I just always remember.
Oh,
that
I don't
he's in
even
that
remember
movie.
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's always like, "Well, that guy's in that movie." Just random, but only other person I can think of beyond Hilary Swank that they haven't.
I do seem to like, for most of them, not all of them, but for most of them, it fits the story to have them come in. I mean, some of them seem to be like this. The newest one that was with John Kreese. Or no, excuse me, with Terry Silver.
Yeah.
Like it seemed to pigeon. Even though I love the scene with him, in his warehouse with Johnny, or not, excuse me, Daniel coming in, and then everything that happened afterwards, with getting burned
that
down.
guy.
Yeah, that guy. Like it just seemed to be throwing him in just to throw somebody else in. Like it didn't really
It kind
add.
of made sense only because Daniel was like, "I need to know what he's planning," and he thought that guy was involved probably because he was one of the disciples of Terry
Right.
Silver back in the day. But yeah, I mean, there's been some stretches for how they rope characters in. I mean, Daniel goes all the way to Japan and then randoms upon Chosen, and then it's like, hey,
well, that wouldn't make sense rather than Chosen randomly. And,
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
It's the idea that Chosen's like, you know what? I'll come to America and help you, even though we were mortal enemies back then. I'll just fly over and help you.
To be
fight
fair,
a
it was,
dojo
what was
battle.
it, 30, 40 years? So for them, maybe you kind of like look back, do some introspective, and go, well, this was probably not worth
it's
the
not
beef.
so much like I'm surprised he's not holding a beef anymore. It's like, if I didn't talk to you for 30 years, and then you were like, hey, I'm having a dojo fight in America, can you come from Japan? I'd be like, no, that's stupid.
Well, I mean, maybe you want to come from Japan.
No,
I mean, you can come see America.
Yeah, it just seemed really... That was probably the biggest stretch I had. And
although I've loved him
character.
so far. Yeah,
I do too, but it's just a really weird... I'll come to Japan.
I didn't
What's that?
mind...
You have trouble with a dojo in the valley? Okay.
I've got nothing else going on.
Yeah. Is that next to the Starbucks? Let me get right over.
I do like that they didn't just have him show up, though, or Daniel call him, because it wouldn't have made sense. I do like that he had to meet him again in Japan.
I think the explanation of why Daniel went to Japan made sense, because he was trying to get the business back from...
And then he ended up seeing the girl that he had the relationship with.
And then she said, you should talk to somebody while you're here. All that makes sense. It's just the him coming to America to help with like a
karate issue.
Yeah, I mean, they have he's like in a legit dojo in Japan, and yet Daniel's like, I'm having big issues in the valley in California. It's right next to spin class. Like, I just can't, boggled my mind a little bit.
Oh, speaking, because you just said right next to spin class, I loved where Johnny first put Cobra Kai, like in that little strip mall beside, because that's, like, if you ever go any place that has like a karate studio, or even MMA is getting bigger, but like any like BJJ gym or something like that, that's kind of where they are. Yeah. They're in the little strip malls with like a convenience store right next door, probably the pawn shop right next door too.
Well, I liked what's he calls it when he makes his own dojo, he calls it Eagle Fang, and it's
the second one. What
is it? It's like a tiger with wings or something like that is the logo. It's ridiculous.
It's fantastic. What do you mean?
Yeah. I also Fang. I don't quite understand why. I understand Mr. Miyagi, but then they say like the type of karate Mr. Miyagi knew comes from this thing, like Sato learned the same style. It wasn't obviously called Miyagi-Do.
Oh, where Miyagi-Do came from?
Right, I don't understand why they didn't just call it whatever the original
because I think
was.
Miyagi did different things to try to... There's a lot of them out there, and when it comes to MMA, mixed martial arts, and when it comes to these different disciplines, when you have it and you've learned it and then you tweak it to kind of fit your style, that's usually where like the other names come in. And I just think it's also a little bit of an homage to him anyway, at least in the TV show.
Yeah.
Is to just pay the respect to that character who is obviously a big part of all of these movies.
Yeah, I get it. It just, I don't know. It's like if Daniel LaRusso makes some tweaks, the next version is going to be called LaRusso-Do. Like, it's just...
I mean, he probably could.
Yeah, I don't know. It just sounded weird to me.
You remember that the terrible movie, the remake with Jackie Chan and Willow?
Yeah, Put on the Coat. No, not Willow. It was the boy. I can't think
of his son's name. I don't remember.
Jaden Smith?
Yeah, it's Jaden. Yeah, that sounds right. Anyway.
Nepotism.
He owns part of Karate Kid, Will Smith.
Oh, really?
He's like an executive producer of this show.
Oh, that's too bad.
Why?
Because that means he's going to jam Jaden in it.
No, yes. Oh, maybe eventually sometime, but it's been 5 seasons and they haven't.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been announced yet, actually. I mean, obviously they should, and I don't know why they wouldn't, especially with the cliffhanger. But there hasn't been announced yet that there's going to be a season 6. Like, it hasn't been officially announced yet.
Really? Because I thought even before season 5, they greenlit 5 and 6.
Nope. Oh, they greenlit 4 and 5 after the success of 3.
Yeah, there'll be a 6th season.
Oh, of course there's going to be a 6th season. There's no reason why.
I honestly wonder at what point they'll stop. But then I also look at it and like Billy Zabka, this is his career.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a
Same
career
with,
outside of this. Ralph Macchio.
Ralph Macchio. Like, he's
Yeah,
not
but
doing
Ralph
anything now.
Macchio can live off the residuals for all the other movies he made.
Sure. Oh, you just mean in general for
Like
that.
Billy
Sure.
Zabka. I think it's funny because so much of the original episode where like he's down on his luck is how I'm like,
It's probably exactly
he
how
was
he
probably
was.
doing odd jobs to get about. Right?
No, he kept contacting How I Met Your Mother and went, let me guest star and pay me like $500, please.
I actually really wonder if they've ever talked about that in any interviews about like how that drove this show to actually get made. I have to imagine it played a role. I really do.
To my knowledge, there's nothing out there, but I have to assume somebody's asked that question before.
Yeah, it just seems like, I mean, literally the premise of Barney talking about how it's what the show started as. It was Billy Zabka that LaRusso
Yeah, but
did
you
a cheap
look
shot.
at, oh God, what was it? Parks and Rec, and you have Patton Oswalt, who's giving that speech talking about Boba Fett, which literally is word for word how Boba Fett starts.
To be fair, that was in expanded universe already that he
either way.
Sarlacc
but
pit.
do you think that manifested
Patton
this
Oswalt
20 years
coming up
later?
with the thing. It's already been written into books that's how Boba Fett
I'm
survived.
just saying.
Yeah.
But that took like 20 years. I mean, How I Met Your Mother with Zabka in it was quite a while ago at this point.
Yeah, but also the first season of this show was quite a while ago.
5 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Only
we're only on
5 years
5
ago.
seasons, Corey.
That's when it was released, but I don't know how long it was in development.
Oh, I don't know about development, but it started in 2018. It's actually only 4 years.
I bet it took them at least 2 to get it, like, developed enough to pitch, and then they had to film.
Yeah, it launched May 2nd, 2018, and I do not know.
Yeah. Sometimes on Wikipedia you can find, like, the production for the first season.
Yeah, and the movies were 1984, 86, and 89.
Yeah.
So 40 years or 30 years later.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And the fact that it's bringing in new audiences to this franchise, because besides for How I Met Your Mother and jokes about the crane and wax on, wax off, this franchise was dead. Like, there's nothing else that was going on with the Karate
Jackie
Kid.
Chan.
Yeah, but that one was like 2010, 2008.
Yeah. I mean...
But it's still 12
but
years,
it was a
14 years ago.
masterpiece. I'm
No,
sure they were
listen.
going to come back to it.
No, they definitely lost some money on that. But I just wonder, like, to bring the new eyes to it. It's one of the things, like, all the people from Friends and Netflix Friends, The Office, and all these other things, when the shows moved to a streaming service, how much more popular they got from. And they were popular back in the day when we were growing up, but now they're even more popular because everybody can binge it and watch the entire series, and you just get so many more eyes on this product, which kind of means something about the product in general, that people are still enjoying it after all this time. And to have that kind of story which really you wouldn't think that this would be a story that would captivate a lot of people. It's a kid that comes in that learns karate, a little bit fish out of water too, with going into a new city that has karate and he doesn't know karate at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to what am I trying to say?
Captivate?
Yeah, but I wanted to say capitalize, and it wasn't working for me.
Okay.
Yeah. It's okay. That'll all be edited. That'll not be
leave that in.
Podcast.
You gotta leave some of your stupid moments in.
Why would I do that?
Well, we won't have any film left of it.
Yeah. Anyway, so what are you hoping to see next season? Because obviously this season ended on the cliffhanger that John Kreese faked his
own death
/ stabbing so he could get out of the prison.
Right.
And Silva went to prison at the very end of season 5. Like, he was getting arrested at the very end.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So
what do you... Did they ever resolve both of them were going to be in that worldwide tournament, right?
Yes, they were supposed to be.
So I assume that won't change just because Silver went to jail.
And well, I know who's running that dojo now.
Well, probably that fucking chick that...
It's possible. Yeah. I will also say, you don't know this because you're not an MMA guy, but the African-American dojo trainer that was for Silva. That's Tyron Woodley. He's a former
Woodley.
UFC middleweight champion. Don't say like you fucking
that
knew.
Guy.
No. But yeah, I thought that was funny because I know he's been trying to break into acting.
Yeah.
And he was whatever in them. He didn't add anything to it. It could have been on anybody.
Yeah.
But the girl though absolutely was good. And isn't it like her grandfather?
Her father, or I think it's her father trained him, or grandfather. It doesn't matter.
Trained Silva. Okay. Yeah. So I like that too,
Silver
even though
and Kreese.
Sure. But I like that little connection too, because why are you here? Okay, now this makes sense to me. They're not just random people. Yeah. I like that you have the random people too, but if it's going to be a main character focus, then there should be
they usually
little bit more
try
connections.
To explain them all. It's just sometimes the explanation's better than others.
Well, but all the other ones, he just literally put out an ad saying, "Hey, I'm looking to hire."
The other dojo,
the other trainers.
I think meant the other comeback character. Or
no.
Characters that they added. Yeah.
So for season 6, I'm assuming Kreese can't really take over a dojo if he's on the lam. Yeah. So
maybe this tournament's in like Venezuela or something
where there's no extradition.
No extradition, yeah.
That'd be a really
awful storyline.
Yeah, be like, oh, it's over here. Oh, look, there he is.
Yeah.
Or he's suddenly like a judge or a referee somewhere else. Ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I actually forgot about the whole, because obviously this season's culmination was more about Silva and going against everybody else. So I forgot that the tournament thing was still going to be happening. So I guess that's probably going to be the main focus of season 6 would be, are they better enough? I should say, are they good enough to compete with all these other people? It's going to be like a Mighty Ducks 2 where they're competing for the Olympics.
I honestly kind of hope they go and get their butt kicked. Just to be like, hey, look, the Valley Karate Dojo isn't that great after all.
Yeah, that's what it should happen.
Oh yeah, if it was in any sense of reality.
Right. Because these people have trained well enough.
They're going to almost lose, and then, there'll be a crane kick. Have we even seen a crane kick?
We saw Danny LaRusso do the little crane thing in season 5 when he was up against Silva, but then didn't end up getting to throw it. And then I think we've seen it try to be thrown again, and also Mr.
Who's the is it Tosh that talks about the crane kick and how much Miyagi says, if done right, no defense or something? He's like, really? Because you kind of advertise what you're going to do pretty clear. Is that Daniel Tosh?
I don't remember if that's Tosh, but you absolutely advertise exactly what you're
John Mulaney. That's who it is.
Oh, Mulaney?
Yeah. But I love that.
He's so good.
That's the one thing. I love those movies, but it always drove me nuts because anytime after the first time when he does it, I'm just like, okay, maybe don't run straight at it with your face. Like,
or, feint that you're about to run in and then let him kick. And then he's like, oh, wide open. Now I'm going to kick you.
Or trip him.
Yeah, sweep the leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just always is such a dumb thing to do. It'd be one thing if it was just like you do that really quick. But
he's holding it. He's posing.
Like,
yeah.
Look at my balance, guys.
Yeah. It's not like it's in slow-mo either. No, we are literally posing like this, and you guys will have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
But yeah, so season 6 will probably be sometime next year. They haven't announced it officially.
The good thing is they don't take long. Like, they bust it
every
out
9
quick.
months or so, which is better than 12 or 14 or something else.
Yeah.
There's also not much production value in this show.
Oh, well,
which I think adds to the show because it's not like all these other ones that are just full of CGI.
It's very like streamlined, and it seems like they bust it out quick. And I think part of that, again, is because they're being allowed to kind of fly, without a lot of oversight. And
if you're successful, you should be.
Well, that's what I mean. As long as it's working.
Think about being a boss
Plus,
at a company.
Netflix a ton of money.
And they're making it too.
Right.
But think about being a boss at a company. If you have people below you that are doing their job and they're successful at their job and they're making you money, why would you go down there and try to micromanage? Just let them do their job. Let them make you money and just go, you guys are good. Clearly, you guys are doing the right things. Now, if the show started to tank or it went in a completely different direction, maybe then you step in. But at a certain point, just trust the people that you're paying. Like, that's kind of the whole point of paying them.
Yeah, especially if it means you can pay less of them.
What do you mean?
Like, I feel like they're not very top heavy. They don't have as much overhead as some other shows might have.
Well, they definitely don't have the same type of budget and or staff for the effects and things like that, just because there's not there. But I think you're talking about more like the higher level people that are like the executives that are all going to be watching.
I think they're a lot more. They probably have less script editors and stuff. It just seems like they're a little bit more loosey goosey with the way they run the ship, which is probably because they weren't given a budget at YouTube Red, and because they started out lean, they really haven't had a need to beef it up, which is probably why they're able to afford such a large cast, because they have a lot of reoccurring cast. They
do, but I also think that kid actors, unless you're a super famous one, probably don't have to pay that much, like a Johnny.
I do wonder what they make, like per episode or something, or per season. I don't know.
But I also am thinking that when they went from YouTube Red to Netflix, and Netflix went, here's your budget, it was probably way fucking higher than YouTube Red. So they were like, oh, this is fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That's probably why they were able to afford to get people to come back and to broaden the cast a bit. So. And
then do the choreography for some of these fights. They've been pretty good. And most, like I said earlier, they tell a story. Which isn't something like some fights are just fights and they're fun to watch, but these seem to always be against some antagonist with you, and you're telling the story while you're fighting, and how does it culminate? So it's been, I don't want to say impressive to watch, because I've watched shows that are better than this, but it's definitely been fun to watch.
Yeah.
And definitely a show I'd recommend for anybody, even if you weren't a fan of the Karate Kids. Because I've watched them all, but I wasn't a giant fan. Love this show. It's fun to watch. It's on Netflix, so you binge it, and then you wait for the next season. It's good times.
Yeah.
All right, closing thoughts on Cobra Kai, Corey. You fucking bitch.
It's good.
I hate you.
Well, I had
so
to.
much.
Mike's not here.
You would do it either way.
I know, but like I had to doubly do it for Mike's absence.
You didn't doubly do it. You did it once.
It's good.
It's good. That's
good. It's good. Nah, yeah. It was definitely good. Interested to see where it goes from here. It does. It's one of those shows that could easily get overdone. Like there are times already where it's like, oh, Daniel like did something not great, and then he made up for it and realized family is the most important thing.
That's happened in 3 different seasons.
I know, that's what I mean. So like if it gets too repetitive, it's gonna suck. But it's one of those shows that I think needs to know when it's time to end. And I don't know if
my guess
would
be 8 seasons.
Well, I mean, once they beat the world championship, what's after that? The universe, they're gonna fight aliens.
No, I think it'll be the conflict with Kreese and Silva to end the show.
Yeah,
I think it'll be something like that before it keeps going on in the universe, but the show itself will end.
Yeah, but that's my hope. But then the thing fighting against that a bit is just the fact that so many of these actors
don't have anything else
going on. So if this goes, like Ralph Macchio is not going to be a leading man.
Not at this point in his career, no. Yeah. Even with as good as he is in this, same with Zapka, they're not leading men.
I mean, they're good at this because this is it was them.
Yes,
like, that's why. So
yeah, and then it's a character they're always have been known for, and now always will definitely be known for. If you do 3 movies, and to be fair, Zapka only did 1 movie, right? It was only in the first one.
Right, but he was in another movie, which is funny, because in the other movie, he was, again, like the bully.
Well, he probably got typecast.
He got typecast as a blonde bully in California, pretty much, yeah.
All right, so that'll do it for this episode, which will air after Thanksgiving. So then our next episode should be Black Adam. As long as everything goes according to plan, we actually go see this movie, because timing during the holidays is not fun.
Black Panther?
What did I say? Black Adam?
Oh,
no, we're going back.
Like we're going
back in time. We're going to go watch Black Adam again, and then we're going to do a second review. No. Yeah, so Black Panther 2 is what I meant to say.
Wakanda Forever.
Yes, is the name of the movie, and I don't know why you did the accent, but...
Because that's what they always say, Wakanda Forever. That's Chadwick Boseman.
I understand. You could just say it.
He doesn't talk like that either. He's an actor.
Well, no, he doesn't talk at all right now.
Well, no, but I mean, that was not his accent.
He did.
I know he's dead, unfortunately. Now we're going to get stuck with stupid sister probably
Yeah,
did.
I mean, it all depends on how they do the movie. It could be really good. It could be shit. We don't know. It has made a lot of money so far. It's gotten
I
good
just
reviews.
haven't heard amazing things. I've heard it's
I've
okay.
heard amazing things.
I'll say all I've heard is it's okay.
Yeah, no, I've heard it's like one of the, well, to be fair, to be the best Marvel movie this year is not a high bar.
Yeah.
It's not a high bar at all.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it is. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, so Black Panther 2 will be our next episode.